Welcome back to Cultivating Resilience. Stress is a normal part of work, but how we respond to it determines our resilience. Today, we're unpacking how experiences, stress, and trauma all kind of coexist and affect employees, and how workplaces can really build a culture of resilience. Jenny, thank you so much for being here with us today and talking about this topic. Tell me a little bit about experiences, how my previous experiences influence how I'm showing up in the workplace and how my workplace can support me.
I think that this is one of those topics and areas that we never think about as a leader until all of a sudden we're working with an employee and we're like, what is going on here? Like, there seems to be a lot of like emotional conflict or emotional distress or even sometimes like defensiveness that I just don't understand. That's not what I'm looking for. That's not how I'm presenting myself. And really the roots of that lie within past experiences. When you think about being an employee someplace, you come to that new workplace with all of your past experiences, whether your past experiences in school, your experiences at home, your experiences in life, but also your past experiences in the workplace. And I have yet to meet a single professional who has had all positive experiences in the workplace and has never had a workplace where they maybe didn't feel safe per se. Physically safe is one thing, but more so emotionally safe. Like I didn't feel safe around, like, I didn't feel like my job was secure. I didn't feel like I knew if I was being successful. I felt like every time I went to my leader or my supervisor, I went into a meeting, like I was on the chopping block or I was potentially going to get grilled about something or in the hot seat, so to speak, right? And all of those experiences get embedded into our nervous system. And once we find ourselves in similar experiences, like in the present, like I'm sitting here with you and let's say you're my leader and you're like, hey, I really want to talk to you about something important. Do I go, oh, crud, like, and go to this past place, right? Yeah. Not always at a conscious level, but all of a sudden I'm like, uh-oh, here it comes. Here comes the bad news. Now my brain is flooded with stress and my alarm system's going off. I'm kind of in this fight, flight, freeze. So this conversation then might go to me fighting back and being defensive and like shutting it down. It might be avoidance and like dismissing everything. I might have like just a really intense emotional response, even though it doesn't match the intensity of what you wanted to share with me or what you did share with me. So this is where some of that like mismatch that leaders might experience can really be related to what an employee is going through of those past experiences.
Yeah, wow, that's so enlightening to know. Even if I feel like as a leader, I'm doing everything I can to be supportive, but they're coming with other experiences that may have some transference and influence their ability to show up in a way that allows some congruency and a rhythm that's helpful. So then help me understand, what are ways that leaders can increase or to cultivate that sense of safety so that it better honors our ability to be more resilient within our working relationship?
You mentioned there like transference for a second, and I'm going to go back to that real quick because it really impacts this play of increasing safety, is that we, in the therapeutic lens, we also talk about countertransference, right? So if as an employee, you project this past experience into this moment, I'm also a human, I'm a leader, I'm a past leader, I've had lots of, experiences myself, and I'm likely to respond back to that from that same emotional place, right? So now we've got our past experiences having this conversation as opposed to us in the present day. So first, as a leader, how do I become aware of my past experiences, the way that I react when staff react, and really be more curious around those reactions and say, it seems like there's a lot of things going on right now. I want to check in and see, what messages are you hearing from me, even beyond this thing that I just said, right? How are you perceiving this about our relationship or about my perception of you? To be able to just make space for that. But a lot of it also goes into creating a foundation of safety and psychological safety. So how do we make sure that we are consistent in our relationships, that we have routines, that we have structures, and that we stick by those and have good cultural norms in the workplace. So meetings are at these times. We're going to have agendas for the meetings. If you want to add something to the agenda, what's expected for participation or non-participation? If someone's like, I'm still just really processing what we're talking about, so I'm going to wait on it. But we can also do a lot by role modeling those things. I think there's a lot of times as leaders in one-on-ones that we could benefit from taking a pause and saying, I'm just going to process this for a second before I respond, to make sure that we're not putting in more emotional intensity or reactivity to topics, which are going to keep that fire going. I also think, it's so helpful to just have a conversation with staff when they first start. Tell me a little bit about some of your workplace history, right? In the context of what were some things in past workplaces that led to you feeling really unsafe, or that you are afraid might come up here. I recently had a staff who'd said like their last supervisor was really micromanaging, and it always made them feel as though like their job was under the microscope, therefore they weren't doing enough and things. And so when we implemented a new project management system, they were worried that it was going to lead down that role, that pathway for them. And like, this is why you want me to use this system. And so we had to go back to share the why, right? Like, actually, it's the opposite. This system is going to allow us to be more hands-off and to be able to just check in for updates without having to, have a back-to-back and like, tell me all of these updates and ask you 10,000 questions about it and make you feel on the spot, as opposed to I can see the journey as it unfolds. So again, going back to sharing why we do things, why a decision was made, why this tool is being implemented, and really creating space for people to just share their reaction to it, because maybe there's more information we could provide, or maybe we shift a little bit about the way we do this specific interaction to be more supportive of those things too.
Yeah, what I've really heard you say, Jenny, is being curious. It's a really great place to start. And then just highlight what I heard you also say related to norms, just having really explicit, this is how we show up to meetings. This is how we share our voice in meetings. This is how we ask questions. This is how we decision make. When we can have some of those norm settings, it creates a sense of safety and predictability. You said a lot about predictability. And I think those things help us overcome maybe the past stressful challenges we had in other workplaces, and be able to really show up with our brain fully online without all of that cortisol in there dumping and making us worried about a lot of things.
Yeah. And the more we do as a leader to be consistent too in those relationships, right? So how do I show up in every relationship the same way, whether you're having a great day or a rough day? I'm still the same leader to you.
Yeah. Wonderful. Resilience isn't about avoiding stress or hard conversations or accountability. It's learning how to navigate challenges with the right tools, the right support, the right compassion in place. Workplace well-being starts with awareness and small changes that promote a culture of support.